I was Britney Spears' sound engineer for 4 years at Jive Records. She called me family, trusted me with her voice, her secrets. What I found in her deleted recordings made me realize I was never helping her music career. I was helping them control her mind. And what was speaking through her microphone at 3 a.m. wasn't human. For nearly a decade, Britney Spears was pop royalty. Hit after hit, sold-out tours, millions of fans worshiping her every move. But behind the spotlight, something else was happening. Something the cameras never captured. Something the media never reported. I worked in those studios. I mixed her vocals, cleaned her tracks, spent countless late nights perfecting the sound that made her famous. Britney trusted me with her voice. But after what I found in those deleted files, I understand why her eyes always looked so afraid. Her conservatorship wasn't just about money, it was about control. And what was controlling her wasn't entirely human. If you keep listening, you'll understand why I left the music industry forever. And why, every time I hear "toxic" on the radio, I remember the sound of something else whispering through her microphone in the dead of night. Because once you hear that voice underneath hers, you can never unhear it. When I got the job at Neath Hers, you can never unhear it. When I got the job at Jive Records in 2003, it felt like winning the lottery. After years of mixing demo tracks for wannabe rappers and cleaning up GarageBand recordings, I landed a spot on Britney Spears' production team. Not some intern position or assistant role. I was hired as her personal sound engineer. Everyone told me how lucky I was. My mom cried on the phone. My friends begged for backstage passes. Even I started believing the myth that working with Pop's princess was like touching something sacred. And Britney, well, Britney was everything you'd expect. Professional, kind, surprisingly funny. She remembered everyone's names, asked about our families, brought donuts to late recording sessions. She called us her studio family. But almost immediately, something felt off. It wasn't anything obvious. No red flags, just little moments, micro glitches in the experience. I noticed it during our first week working on My Prerogative. I'd be alone in the sound booth, fine-tuning her vocals when I'd feel this pressure on my chest, like someone was watching me breathe. I'd turn around, heart racing, but the studio was empty. Just me, the mixing board, and this invisible weight pressing down on everything. The equipment started acting strange too. Automated faders would slide up and down when no one was touching them. The studio clock would skip minutes, jumping from 11:47 to 11:52 with no explanation. And always around 3:33 a.m., we'd get these phantom recordings. Empty audio files that somehow contained sound. Whispers in languages none of us recognized. Britney's voice, but deeper, saying things she swore she never said. At first, I deleted them, chalked it up to equipment malfunction or cross-signal interference from other studios. But they kept appearing. Every night. Same timestamp. Same ethereal quality. That's when I started noticing changes in Britney herself. She'd always been punctual, professional, ready to work. But suddenly she was showing up hours early, sometimes at midnight, pacing the hallways like she was waiting for something. Or someone. Her phone was always in her hand now, not for calls or texts, but like she was trying to record something. She'd hold it up during vocal takes, pointing it at corners of the studio where nothing was happening. One morning, I found her sitting alone on the studio floor, staring at the ceiling speakers. Her makeup was perfect, her hair styled, but her eyes looked exhausted. "You okay, B?" I asked. She looked at me, but not at me. Through me. Her smile flickered, strained like it was holding back something heavy. "Do you ever feel like you're not alone in here?" she whispered. Before I could answer, her assistant knocked on the door. Business mode snapped back into place. The smile returned, bright and practiced, but I'd seen behind the mask. That was the day I started paying attention to the cameras. Not our cameras. The professional rigs we used for music videos and promotional content. These were smaller ones, hidden, tucked behind air vents and nestled in fake plants. The angles didn't make sense. They weren't positioned for the audience or even for security. They were watching us, the crew, the musicians, and always focused on Britney. I started keeping track. Every time she entered a room, the temperature dropped just slightly, enough to notice, enough to feel. Her presence didn't just command attention, it pulled warmth from the air. The mirrors in the studio started bothering me too. Sometimes I'd catch movement in them when no one was there, shadows that didn't belong to any of us. And Britney, she'd avoid looking at them directly, like she knew something we didn't. One afternoon, during a break between takes, I saw her talking to an empty corner of the room. Not loudly, just moving her lips, like she was having a conversation. When I got closer, I heard her whisper, "I can't do this much longer." I asked who she was talking to. She turned around, startled like she'd forgotten I was there. "Nobody," she said, but her hands were shaking. That night, I stayed late to clean up some audio files. Around 3:30 a.m., I heard her voice coming through the studio monitors. But Britney had left hours ago. I followed the sound to Studio B, where we'd been recording earlier. The room was dark, empty, but her voice was crystal clear. "They're making me say things. Making me sing things. I don't want to be pretty anymore. I don't want to smile anymore. Please, just let me go." I checked every piece of equipment. Nothing was recording. Nothing was playing. But her voice continued, desperate, pleading. "If someone finds this, if someone's listening." I didn't choose this. None of it was my choice. Then silence. The next morning, I found a file on my workstation that shouldn't have been there. It was buried deep in a mislabeled folder, time-stamped for a date that hadn't happened yet. Britney Truth, final.wave. My hands were shaking as I opened it. The audio was crystal clear, but wrong. Britney's voice, but layered with something else. Something speaking through her. She thinks she can resist. She thinks her little prayers and her little rebellions matter. But she signed the contract. She took the gifts. The voice, the fame, the adoration. All of it comes with a price. Then Britney's real voice, terrified, breaking, "I was 16. I didn't know what I was signing. I just wanted to sing." The other voice laughed. Not human laughter. Something older, hungrier, and sing you shall. Until we decide you're done. Until we find someone younger, prettier, more desperate for what we offer. What about my family? My boys? Your family will do what they're told. The conservatorship is already planned. Your father will be our instrument. The courts will believe what we make them believe. You will perform until your body breaks, and when it does, we'll find another vessel. The recording glitched, skipped. When it resumed, only Britney's voice remained. If someone finds this, if someone's listening, look for the others. Look for the patterns. We're not the only ones. The industry, the contracts, the breakdowns. It's all connected. They feed on our light until there's nothing left. Static. Then one final whisper, "Don't let them take anyone else." The next day, I was called into a meeting I hadn't scheduled. The executive conference room on the 15th floor, a place I'd never been invited to. 3 men in expensive suits were waiting. I didn't recognize any of them, but they knew me. Knew my name, my address, my family. "We understand you've been working hard on Britney's project," the tallest one said. His smile never reached his eyes. I said nothing. Sometimes, in this business, we discover things that aren't meant for public consumption. Rough cuts, experimental tracks, personal moments that should remain private. One of them slid a tablet across the table. On the screen was a list of audio files, including the one I'd found. We're prepared to offer you a significant bonus for your discretion. A promotion, actually. Your own studio. Your choice of artists. The room felt smaller suddenly. Warmer. Like the air was getting thicker. What if I say no? I asked. All three smiled in perfect synchronization. Then we'll find someone who understands the value of silence. The tablet screen flickered. For just a moment, I saw something else. Security footage of my apartment building, my car in the parking garage, my sister walking her dog. Britney is very important to us, the shortest one said. She has a long career ahead of her. Many more albums, many more tours. It would be unfortunate if anything disrupted that timeline. I looked at their faces. Really looked. Their eyes were too dark, their smiles too wide, and in the reflection of the conference table, I could see something else. Something standing behind them that wasn't there when I looked directly. I understand, I whispered. But I was lying. That night, I made copies. 3 different drives, 2 cloud backups, 1 physical tape I hid in a safety deposit box across town. Then I wiped my workstation clean and submitted my resignation. No explanation, no notice. Just a simple email. Effective immediately. I expected calls, threats, visits from men in suits, but nothing came. It was like I'd never existed at Jive Records at all. My access cards stopped working. My name disappeared from the credits of albums I'd helped produce. Even my parking space was given to someone else within hours. But the files remained. And, more importantly, I started seeing the patterns Britney had mentioned. Christina Aguilera's breakdown during the stripped era. Justin Timberlake's sudden separation from NSYNC, the way certain artists would disappear for months, only to return with dead eyes and bigger contracts. I moved across the country, changed my phone number, started working under a different name, but I kept watching, kept listening. When Britney shaved her head in 2007, I knew it wasn't a mental breakdown. It was rebellion. When she attacked that paparazzi car with an umbrella, she wasn't having a meltdown. She was fighting back. And when the conservatorship was announced, when her father was granted control over every aspect of her life, I understood. They'd won. Even now, years later, I can't escape what I know. Sometimes I'll be driving and "Baby, One More Time" will come on the radio. But underneath her voice I can hear the other one, the hungry one, still there, still feeding. I tried to contact Britney once, through a fan website, through social media, but the messages never went through. Or maybe they did, and she just couldn't respond. The conservatorship lasted 13 years. 13 years of performances, albums, Vegas residencies, 13 years of that thing wearing her like a costume, using her voice to call to new victims. When she was finally freed in 2021, I cried. Not from joy, but from relief. And terror. Because if she was free, if she'd finally broken the contract, what was it looking for next? A few weeks ago, I got a package. No return address, no postmark. Just a USB drive with a single file, thankyou.wave. Britney's voice, older now, tired but real. I don't know who you are, but I know you were there. I know you tried to help. The recordings you saved, the copies you made, they helped my lawyers prove things that couldn't be proven in court. You gave me my voice back. But this isn't over. There are others, younger ones. They're always looking for the next vessel, the next bright light to dim. If you're still listening, If you still care, watch for the signs. The sudden fame, the perfect smiles, the eyes that don't match the song. And whatever you do, don't let them know you can hear the difference between a human voice and something else wearing it. The file corrupted itself after I played it. Digital self-destruction, like it was programmed to disappear. But I remember every word. People ask me why I left the music industry, why I gave up my dream job, walked away from everything I'd worked for. I used to lie, said I burned out, said I wanted to try something new. But the real answer is simpler and more terrifying. I didn't leave the music industry. The music industry let me go. Because once you've heard what's really behind the curtain, once you've listened to the voices underneath the vocals, you become a liability. You become someone who might talk, someone who might warn others. So if you're listening to this, if you've made it this far, I need you to understand something. The next time you hear a pop song that seems too perfect, a voice that seems too polished, a smile that seems too bright, listen closer. Listen for what's underneath. Listen for what's really singing. And if you hear it, if you catch that hungry whisper beneath the melody, run. Have you ever listened to a song and felt like something was wrong, like there was another voice hidden in the mix? What would you do if you discovered your favorite artist was trying to send you a secret message through their music? Let me know in the comments below, but be careful what you listen for. Some sounds are meant to stay buried.